Switches on.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And a very warm welcome to this, your church, Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. And a great delight to welcome back a very good friend, not only to the church, but I count him as a personal friend. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just thought I'd ask. Don't want to assume. Very good friend of mine also, great supporter, Mr. Mark Stone.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Pleasure to see you with us.
Lovely to be here.
Could I just remind you, please, if you have mobile phones, please turn them off. And if you are fortunate enough to receive a message, could you please save discussing it until after the service? So I will now leave you in the very capable hands of Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if for just one moment we can close our eyes but open our hearts and minds in prayer. Gracious and divine Spirit, as we join together this afternoon, allow us to step aside from daily life and enter into the peace and the healing and the stillness of this moment. Allow us in this time to still the mind, to find a little peace within, to become aware of that light and that power that we are, that we call the Spirit. And in these moments, let us realise that this light, this power that we are, cannot be extinguished, that it is housed within the body, and when we pass, this light goes home to the spirit world, and it is this light, this essence of us, that lives eternally. And so as we sit here in this time, let us shine out our light not only into this church, to each and every one who is gathered here and at home, but also out into the world. Let us let our love and our light resonate out and radiate out into the world to all those who need it. And let us reach out to those in the other world who come to be with us, our friends, our family, our loved ones, those who guide us and inspire us. And let us ask to be aware of their presence, to be mindful that our world and their world are one, and that in this place and in this moment there is only Spirit, the Spirit within us and the Spirit who come to join us in this time together. And as always, we place our service in the care and keeping of that divine light, that divine power that is Father, Mother, God, knowing that all that is said and done is said and done in the truth, the love and the light of Spirit, and that each and every one of us here, as we join together, can draw upon the love and the power that is needed for their own needs. That during this service, all that we are in need of, all that we are searching for, this light and this power provides. So for this and for this time that we share together, we are thankful and know that all that is said and done is said and done in truth, love and light. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mark. Beautiful. If you care to now, please join in with saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. And we now unite with one mind, one thought, one heart, one energy, in the ancient art of healing. For we are all healers of one kind or another, be it through spiritual healing, various other applications of healing, in our everyday life, talking to people, smiling to people, just helping people. All these acts are healing and drawn from that divine source at the centre of all creation to enable us to exercise that art, unasking, unerring, always there, given in love. So for this short time, I'd just like you to ask for that love to flow through you, to be that instrument, to be that medium for this time, for that healing power, guided and directed by your own thoughts to wherever you feel drawn. So we leave you alone just for this short time. God bless you all. Great and infinite Spirit, that whom all things move and are made and exist, we thank you for this time of healing, and we know and trust that our love has reached out, unbound by our physicality, and touched those for where it was intended. Amen. I'd now like to invite Mark for your reading and address today, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Lawrence.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was a bit quiet, wasn't it? Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
That's better. I thought I was on my own then. I thought I'd just sit and go off. The piece I'd like to read for you this afternoon is from a book called Bedside Leaves by a medium called Clarice Morgan. And the piece is called Semi-Detached. Imagine a pair of semi-detached houses. They stand at the corner of a busy street and of a quiet lane leading to the hills. House number 1 is bouldered by the main road. Its windows are open and the uproar of the passing traffic drifts in. Within house number 1 is constant unrest, an untidiness bordering on chaos as the occupant goes about their business. Oddly enough, the occupant also owns house number 2, the adjoining house that fronts on to a quiet lane. It is much larger than house number 1, a haven of well-ordered peace, with double glazing and insulation against the unwanted outside noise. Yet with beautiful views of the surrounding countryside, and although the owner is scarcely ever present to heed them, a well-modulated radio and television set are constantly working. Between these two houses is an interconnecting door, usually kept tightly closed, but sometimes through it drift a few bars of music, a few wise words, half heard and half heeded as they impinge upon the busy owner working in the hubbub of house number 1. He enters house number 2 only to sleep. Although it has many rooms that are a veritable treasure trove, he has scarcely visited them. Perhaps eventually he will set aside some time to come and visit each day and refresh himself in house number 2. Perhaps he may even learn to keep that interconnecting door open so that his work may be lightened by the music and the wise words that come through it. Then he will come to know and think of his two houses not as being semi-detached, but semi-attached. And I like that reading because it's often the way we are about the spirit world, that there is often a sense of detachment between us and what we refer to as the other world. It almost makes it sound it's a completely different place, completely separate from who we are, that the spirit world and the physical world are very separate places, are very separate locations. And often people think of the spirit world as something that happens to us after we die, that that's where we go. But in fact, it's not only where we've come from, but it's where we are still now, because we are still part of a spiritual world. We're still in it now, but we are clothed in a body, but we are still a spirit that is living, that has lived before this life, whatever your opinions on that may be. But we have come into this life. We've come not away from the spirit world, but into a different room, into a different part, to explore more of who and what we are, of what life is, of what the world is. We're not separate from it. And you see, often that sense of separation leads back to the way that we were brought up. We're down here on the earth, and up there somewhere is heaven, and never the twain shall meet. You go there and stay there, or you come down here and you're here. You're not connected. And you can only be connected through people that have that connection to heaven. The same occurs within spiritualism, sadly, that people have become reliant on the idea that to be aware of the other world, you must go to a medium, so via a separate agency to connect. But that's not what spiritualism teaches us. It says that you and me and every single person is a spirit clothed in the human body. That within each and every one of us is the ability to be aware of the other world and the world that is around us. Not only the physical world, but the subtle world. That the other world come into and intermingle with our lives. They're not separate, pushed away from us. That as we go about our daily lives, the other world are aware of that. How many times, if you get a message from the platform, is there some little moment where the spirit world talks to you of a conversation you had, or something that you did when you thought you were completely alone and no one else would have known or seen that private moment? But the other world make reference to it. Why? To prove to you that they're not away from you. That their world and our world intermingle all the time. And how often do we say, well, I believe in the spirit world and I consider myself a spiritualist, and yet how much time or attention do we pay personally to that other world? How much time do we take to sit and listen for what the other world might have to say? How often do we ignore
little thoughts that crop up in our minds, and that's my mind. That's my wishful thinking. That's my imagination. Our imaginations, ladies and gentlemen, are the doorway to awareness. How are we to imagine something that isn't solid and physically real if we couldn't imagine it as being so? When you see a medium talking about feeling and sensing a person, nobody else in that room may see it and feel it and hear it, but that medium senses and perceives and feels the reality of that loved one that's coming through. But do you think that that's only a medium that can do that? You are mediums. You are your own mediums. You are your own healers. The whole purpose of knowing that there is life after death is not just to say, don't worry, your loved ones, you will see them again, but that the conversation between us continues. The love, the care, the support, the encouragement continues. It doesn't end when the body is no longer there. It continues just as it ever did. That their love, that their presence can be made known to us. But once we're aware of that, what are we as individuals willing to do to continue that conversation? I can remember going to a demonstration with a friend, and she brought along her daughter-in-law who never goes to church. If it's once every couple of years, that would be overestimating it. And we went to a demonstration by a medium, I think it was Stephen Holbrook. And when we came out, she said, I'm really disappointed that my dad didn't make the effort to come through tonight. And unfortunately, I was in one of those moods where I wouldn't let it drop. And I said, how lovely is that? I said, you know, you bothered to turn up for the first time in 2.5 years and you're telling him off for not making an effort. And let's put it this way, the atmosphere in the car going home was frosty. My friend who was staying out of it, she just was like, But, you know, we always make this assumption about what we expect, what we want, what we need. But how often do we sit and say to the spirit world, what is it I can do for you? You know, I was listening to an inspirational speaker this morning, and he was talking about the change of mindset in the world from what's in it for me to how can I serve. And we're in a world at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, where there is a lot needed of people, where there is a lot needed to support people and care for people. And this idea of division doesn't exist just between us and the other world, but between us and our fellow human beings that we walk on the planet with. That there is a division in mindset, there is a division in belief, there is a division in understanding. And yet we need to be able to unite as people, even if we don't agree with the same mindset of life, even if we don't have the same belief, the same politics, God forbid. We still have to learn to accept the uniqueness, but also the oneness. If we believe in what we believe within spiritualism, that we are all from one source, then that really does make us all sharing in the journey together. And yes, there may be people that you love dearly, and yes, there may be people that you'd like to throttle and bury under a patio every now and again. But those people are still part of your life and your experience for a reason. We're not at this point or place in time without there being a reason for it. We've come for many different reasons. We've come to experience life at this time for many different reasons. We've gone through the highs and the lows for many different reasons. But are you looking at how you can be that connection to the other world, be that connection for other people, Just as Lawrence said in the healing moment, the kindness we can show to people in a smile, a caring word. How many people just go along ignoring the rest of the world? How many people don't pay attention to anything that's going on around them and yet then say that they feel isolated, but yet they're not seeing or choosing to see that these people physically are all around them? One of the things we know through spiritualism and should take away that sting of isolation is that we know that we are never alone. That even in our most devastating of times, when we sit in a room and we're crying our hearts out, we are not alone. That the other world is present. That the other world see us and hear us and draw close. And at those moments and those times, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why won't they show themselves? Why can't I feel them? Because of the emotional state you're in. Your mind is not that peaceful and calm mind that is needed. It's frenetic, it's upset, it's distressed. But if we could say to you that if you started to sit on a daily basis, just for 5 or 10 minutes, to sit within a stillness and to allow that light and that power of your spirit to expand. And as you expand that light, you invite your loved ones to draw close. You invite those who inspire and work with you to be there, to bring inspiration, to bring support to you. Then you're starting to open the door. Because mediumship is not for the few. It is a birthright of who and what you are. It doesn't mean everybody steps on a platform to be one. Some of you may have heard mediums make comments like, mediums are born and not made. Have you heard that said by people? Now, I think the comment gets misunderstood because it sounds like you either are one or you're not one, doesn't it? That's what it sounds like. But let me rephrase the comment with a different edge on it. Artists are born and not made. Exceptional bakers are born and not made, although if you watch Bake Off, you might believe that it's so. Accountants, scientists are born and not made because of the way their brains and their minds work. Great concert pianists are born and not made. So we're not talking about whether you can or can't do something, it's whether it becomes part of your pathway and your vocation. That's different to whether you can or you can't. It's just about where it takes you and where it leads you in life. And when we look at our awareness, when we look at the power of our own innate healing ability, that's everywhere when we're with people. The minute that we talk to people, the minute that we engage with them, a healing moment is taking place, hopefully. And I say hopefully because it depends on how you enter into that conversation, how you deal with that person, and how you leave that person. And I believe that whenever you have contact with anyone, that you try to leave them a little better than when you first met them. Even if there is difficulties that you have to deal with, sometimes dealing with the difficulty doesn't mean there has to be unpleasantness, doesn't mean there has to be aggression, doesn't mean there can't be thanks and acceptance, doesn't mean we can't agree to disagree and still be friends. But we've come into a world where we are seeing more than ever division. And if we allow ourselves to keep choosing sides, we continue to create the division. Rather than saying, I hear what you're saying and I see what you're doing, but that's not necessarily for me, but if that makes you feel happy or safe or secure, then that's fine. It's not for me or anyone else to come along with a sharp pin and burst everyone else's bubble telling you you're wrong. It's very different if someone asks me an opinion, but if someone's only telling me what they believe, they're not asking what I think. And if they ask what I think, I'll say, well, this is just my thoughts. These are just my beliefs. And this is the reason why. But that's me. And so, do we take our thoughts and our feelings to the other world? And do we turn to them and say, well, this is what I think, but what about you? What do you think about all of this? What is it you want to say? What is it you want to tell me? One of the exercises I get my students to do is have a notebook and pen, and every day to just sit just for a few moments in stillness and just say to the spirit world, what is it you want me to know today? And just to write whatever comes into their head, whether they think it's from them or not, doesn't matter. But just to write. And one of my students, when we got them to do this, after a few weeks, he said, well, I don't know really what's happening. And he said, but I've started writing poetry, and I'm not what you call a poetry person. And it started to open his mind to this wonderful flow of thought, which was giving him inspired and guided poetry. A man who doesn't read poetry, who doesn't think about poetry, who doesn't even consider it in the spectrum of his life, but it opened the doorway to something. That's how we pick up our phone to the spirit world, to sit for those few moments and to say, here I am. Someone that you love is here. Come and talk to me. Come and be with me. And if we do that, if we have that connection still, it's no different to when they were here on the earth and we pick up the telephone and go, hi Mum, just thought I'd say hello. How are you doing? How's everything going? Because that love, that communication, that conversation continues. It's not stopped. But you need to realise it is you who can also have those conversations. It is you that can also have that closeness, that healing, that power. It's not a chosen few. It never has been. But it's up to you. Do you want to live just in the chaotic house? Do you want to just live in a chaotic life where there seems no support, no help? Or do you want to unify those two worlds? To know that when the other world says to you in your mind, it'll be fine, it'll be all right, that you hear those words and you know them to be true. They may not always answer you and tell you how it's going to be all right, which is sometimes the infuriating thing, but it never tends to be wrong. And so if we are willing, that love, that guidance and that support can be as ever present. If only we are willing to make the effort to unite those two worlds. Not just to come once in a while and hope we get a message, but to actually learn from the fact that those messages prove that our loved ones continue and that we are able to sit within our own stillness and continue our conversation beyond. Because love never dies, the conversation never ends, and a conversation is always two sides. Telephones in this world phone both ways. So when you moan that no one's ever phoned you, telephones work two ways. Pick up the phone and talk to them. Communicate with them. Reach out to them. In this world and the next. Let's start to be kinder, more loving, and share those kind of conversations rather than you're this. Let's say, what can we be? How can we make it better? How can we bring more love and kindness into this world? So it's up to you. Pick up the phone, sit in the stillness to pick up the phone to the spirit world, but start to bring kindness into our world once more. Be of service to yourself, to the spirit world, and to others. And I'll leave those thoughts with you and say God bless.
Mark, absolutely beautiful. Thank you. We have our one hymn this afternoon, If you've all got your paper with you,
Is that Spanish one? One hymn.
one hymn.
One
Yes,
hymn.
one hymn. Don't start. Blessed assurance.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending, ring from above, echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I in my Savior am happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Praising my Savior all the day long.
So before I hand over to Mark once more for his demonstration today, just to remind you, please, should Mark come to you, a nice clear response. Yes or no, as Mark has been talking so eloquently. It's communication. If you pick up the phone and sit there nodding, guess what? They're going to hang up. Over to you, young man.
Lovely, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lauren. And just echoing what Lawrence has said, it's important that if something makes sense to you, sometimes we know where we're going, sometimes the spiritual sat-nav goes on the blink. So if something makes sense to you, please put your hand up and say, don't come up after the end of a service and say, do you know that thing no one else could take? I could take it. What else was there? because I don't have a 147 ring back facility. When I finished, I'm thinking of a biscuit and a cup of coffee, and that's about all that's in between my ears, not a lot else. I'm very aware of a lady, and she's been in and out all afternoon while I was getting ready for the service. And I know that this lady is mum, but I know that with her, there were conditions for a number of years before her passing to do with her blood pressure, and it made her very unsteady, and she would get dizzy spells and would often have to hold on to bits of furniture just for a moment to steady. And I know that prior to her passing, there must have been a number of falls that took place, because I'm aware that I'm almost having moments where I'm passing out because of this condition that's going on with me. Where would that make sense? Oh, laid there. Lovely. Oh, hello, Don. So, and you'd understand this being with mum? Yeah. Yes, okay. Because I feel with her that she tried... Do you know when someone's trying to be quite stoic and stolid and they're saying, no, I'm fine, I'm all right, I just need a moment. It's not as if, you know, when you'd say to them, now sit down and rest for a bit, there's this sense of saying, no, I'm fine, I just need a moment, and I've got to keep going, and I've got to keep pushing myself, okay? And I know that when she would have done this, that it would have been more of a concern to you than it was to her about her not being well. You understand that? She would say, oh, it's fine, it's, you know, it's just my blood, it's fine, okay? But I know that she understood the concern that you would have on wanting her to rest. But she said, I can't give in. I can't give in to my health. I don't want to just sit there and do nothing. That's not like me. Because mum had this very active nature and didn't want to stop, ever. You know, I'll stop and sit and have a cup of tea with you. I'll have a chat to you. But I don't want to just sit down and do nothing with my day, okay? And I know that as she's talking about this, can you understand, please, that at the moment around you, there would be this sense of wanting to push on and forge ahead with different things, and I don't want anything to get in the way of me going forward now.
And when she was younger?
No, with you, darling, at the moment. not with her, but with you, because there's this sense of saying that that same kind of spirit of I'm not going to let anything get in my way now, like I'm a steam train building up steam here. Woe betide anyone who tells me I can't, okay? And I know that mum's happy that you're kind of getting into your stride, because she said you've not found it easy to sit and wait for things to get back to normal. Yeah. You found it irritating in the extreme at times, going, I could be doing something, I should be doing something, but what? And she said, but now there's this momentum, okay? Now there's this sense of momentum. Would you understand where there must have been memories at some point of living near a railway? Would you understand that where mum used to live?
No.
Can I ask you, are there connections with Kent with you?
Yeah.
Is Ilford in Kent? Is it? I don't know places. Okay, because I'm just hearing Ilford as well. So, but I feel that if I go back, and you may have to think about this, there must have been a connection to going... Now, I'm not being rude when I say this, but I know there must be memories to having gone where there was a steam train, and memories of going to somewhere where we saw steam trains coming. Yeah. And this would be memories that mum would share with you as well. Lovely, okay. Because she's making memories of that come in here, and how, you know, there's the right way to do something and the fast way to do something. Mum was somebody who did it the right way. If it took longer because it was going to be done right and not done quickly. So as she's saying this, she's just wanting you to stick to what's right and not just go for what's quickest. Okay? So if the choice comes, go the longer and better route rather than taking the shortcut of it. Okay? Because I know that she would have always, it's a bit like when someone tries to repair a button. They can either just put a couple of stitches in it, or they can take it off and restitch it properly. Your mum would have taken it off and restitched it properly. But she said, don't take the shortcut. Okay, don't take the shortcut. Obviously your choice, but I wouldn't want to argue with your mum. If she gave you advice, you'd like to take it. Okay. Anything else, mum? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I may have left you, but let me just check. Would your mum have also worked somewhere where there was either very large sewing machines or machined wool at any point?
No.
Because I'm seeing large skeins of like wool. So if that doesn't make sense to you, I'm going to take that back. Leave her love with you and her support, and she's coming along on the journey of this with you, and she's enjoying it. Okay. I'm aware of seeing this this large, like it looks like a large sewing machine, but I think it's more of a industrial machine, but with these massive skeins of wool. Would someone here have a connection with a family member who would have worked in a carpet factory? Okay, you have. Anyone else as well? Just Craig. Okay. Because I'm seeing the machines where they've got all these big, massive skeins, and then they're all coming down and warp and weft and all that malarkey. Okay. And but is this a lady again that would connect with this? And okay, don't tell me Kidderminster. That's all right. I wouldn't have probably got Kidderminster anyway. That wouldn't even come into my head. But I've got this feeling as I'm looking at all of this. I'm not sure of the personality that's stepping forward at the moment, Craig. So you have to bear with me who it is who's coming. But I keep looking at this, and I keep, you know, some things have an obvious pattern, and other things don't. And sometimes I've got this feeling of being told that some things we can't always work out until everything's finished and we look back and then we go, now I understand. But I know that there is this sense, and I feel this comes from Mum, because Mum's got a sense about her that she would always try and bring sense to you and to help you and to support you. And I feel... So I'm trying to stay out of my own way now because of knowing things, Craig. But I know that there is this sense that she would be very proud of you and very behind you in everything that you would do, and knowing that it would be right for you. But I know that as she shows me this and this understanding, and this must be connecting in her family then,
Yes.
yeah, okay? Because I don't feel it's necessarily just her, there's other members of family connecting with this. And she said, but this, a funny comment to make, but it may be quite a while before we can look back and just say, I understand it, okay? And not to be in that pressure to try and understand it all now, okay? And I feel that very much, I'm reaching out and holding your hand and you're holding mine, and I know there is this sitting holding Mum's hand that is important, okay? But I know that I'm still holding your hand. I'm still there with you. Doesn't matter how old you get, you're always going to be your mum's baby, okay? And it's important to realise that that love and that support does not leave your side, okay? All right, my darling. And I There's something here, and I'm not really quite sure what she's bringing my awareness to, but it's around your dad, okay, and just wanting to bring this reassurance to you, okay, and wanting to bring this sense of, you know, when I just said earlier in the thing, all will be well, all will be okay as things progress and as things move on, but just it all has to come into its own place. And sometimes we can't see the pattern of it, all right? We can't see the pattern of it. We can't understand it. And sometimes your mum would say to you, you know, there aren't always any answers. Sometimes it just is, okay? And your mum was quite matter of fact in life, quite down to earth in life. There was not the flights of fancy about anything in life. Everything was very much, it is what it is today, okay? And would you also know if there are photographs going back to do with that factory?
No, I've only seen it on the
On the website.
census.
Okay, right. Because I have the feeling that there were photographs of family members. Now, whether this is still kept by someone else, because I feel there's another arm or leg of the family that exists going down from that family. Can you remember this as being said? Because I see this photograph being held and I can see these ladies standing in quite old-fashioned wear in front of one of these milling machines, whatever they're called, I don't know what they're called, but they're there. And I have the feeling that there are a lot of people there in the spirit world that are trying to just bring this all together for you, okay? And just hold everything together, and then later on we'll look back, okay? But for now, where my feet are planted and ahead, okay? So let me leave that with oh no, hang on a minute. Is there a small terrier that would belong in your family as well?
Well, not that I know of.
No, then it's not yours, so I'm not going to give it to you because it's running around on the floor here. So let me say God bless and love from your mum as well. And you're aware of mum standing behind you a lot,
Yeah.
okay? Because she's just saying, I'm always behind him and he knows it and he feels it. So I'll leave her love. Know that she's there. All right. I've got this awareness of this terrier, and who's coming in with the terrier? And I've got a gentleman. I believe this is Dad that I've got here, and he's out walking this. I don't know whether it's like a little Cayenne terrier or whatever they are, the very small, wiry, furred ones. But I know that I've got this sense of going out and walking this terrier or this little terrier-style dog. And I know that this gentleman not only walks through a town area, but he also walks out into the country with this dog as well. Who would understand that? You've all gone quiet over there. You understand? But I don't know whether is this his dog or... Oh, okay. Because I also felt at one point... I'm staying back out of that. At one point, he would have also walked someone else's dog or walked with another person and their dog as well. So it wasn't just on his own. Okay? Because I feel that, this dog is like his shadow. Wherever he is, the dog is. And it's a very well-behaved. It's not one of these dogs that would go off and you'd never see it again. It's literally looking up at him every few minutes like, where are we going now, Dad? Where are we going? And there is this lovely connection that comes in there. When he lost that dog, God, he was bereft. He was absolutely, I think we all are when we lose fur babies and things, but he really felt like it was a limb that had gone from him. And I know that as he's talking about this, he would enjoy the times when he was out on his own, because your dad could be a very deep thinker at times. And your dad would often, if you asked him something, if you asked him to help you with something, he wouldn't always jump in there and then and give you an answer. He said, let me go away and think about that, and let me think about where we can go with that. And I know that I've then got this sense of taking the dog out for the walk, and that's when I'm kind of alone and with my God, I'm alone and with my thoughts. And you see, your dad had a very spiritual nature, but he wasn't necessarily in a church like a spiritualist would have been. Because there's not in the way that he looks, but in the way that he has belief. He almost reminds me of like when Harry Seacombe used to go out walking on the... And I know that I would have loved more of Harry Seacombe's humour than necessarily listen to him sing, because your dad would have loved things like The Goon Show and stuff like that. Silly. Because it appealed to his sense of humour, and also from Force's days as well, because it's that humour, and there was a lot in there that was Force's humour. So he really liked that. But I know that there is this sense as he's walking that he's got this sense of connection. And I feel that I want to talk about you doing that as well, almost like whether you're walking around the park here or you're walking somewhere else. But I know that that's when you go and you have your chats to the spirit world, and it's more of an active kind of meditation rather than just sitting there still and quiet. But I know that as he's talking about that, he's been listening to what's being discussed, okay? And it's a two-way conversation with him. You're aware of his presence. Would you understand that before your dad passed, there was problems with medication?
Yes.
Because he's saying, he said, I loathed taking it, and I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. Either way, I was not. Because I know that he's talking about concerns for someone here, and about their health and well-being, and that same situation of no matter what I'm doing, I don't feel well, whether I do or I don't take. And he said, so we're aware, we're watching, we're looking over them, and we need to make sure, though, that they keep medical informed, because there's a little bit of a stubbornness. And he said, and it's naughty. They're supposed to listen, they're supposed to do as they're told, and then they don't. And then they don't know why they don't feel well. Okay? So he's been watching and listening. So he's listening. I also feel as well here, though, I don't know whether your father drove these or had an interest in it. Can you remember? But remember when they used to have things like the TT races on the Isle of Man? And they used to have like what I'd almost, I don't know what type of cars they are, I don't do cars, they're either blue or they're red, that's about all. But they used to have like what I call the little, it almost looks like a canoe with wheels on, those kind of cars. And your dad must have had a love of those kind of old races and old-fashioned cars, because he's showing me that. And it's not necessarily that your dad would want to jump in a car and go at 90 miles an hour and whatever, but your dad loved the way that you'd go to beautiful places and tie it in with seeing a lovely car. So he'd have loved somewhere like Bewley. You know, that would be ideal for your dad. Lovely place, and also the cars. But I just get this feeling of nostalgia that comes in with your dad. And I know that there is okay, I'll say that. This isn't you. This is, again, people we've been talking about who feel like they're just going too fast in life and they're not slowing down, they're not listening, they're not watching. And your dad, again, is using the speeding along in a car. You've got to stop and enjoy what's around you rather than just herring along. And he said, so I'm watching them. I'm paying close attention to them. Okay? So again, everybody that you've asked about, and he said, and of course, I'm watching over you as well, not just everyone else, don't worry. But again, he says, you're not the sort that will ask for you, you'll ask for everyone else first. Okay? But you're still on the list. Okay? Your dad must have enjoyed Christmas as well.
Yes, he did.
Because I've got the sense of him saying there, don't worry, you'll have a nice Christmas present. You know, and that's how he'd almost sort of say, don't worry, I won't forget about you at Christmas. And there'd be that just that lovely sort of in-joke with him, that there'd always be something special, there'd always be a moment. But actually for your dad, being with family was the most important part of that. Okay? Was the most important part. All right. Would you also understand where the name of Sissy would connect? He's not got a sister that's in spirit, has he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He might have, I don't know whether he referred to her as Sis or Sissy, but I'm just hearing that being called.
Not that I know.
Not that you know of. Okay, bear with me. I know there's a connection with sister, anyway, in spirit world, but I keep hearing, no, I'm still hearing that called. Did you understand the name Sissy in the spirit world? Siri, okay.
With dad's cousin.
That's okay. Let me come back to you in a second, because I can keep hearing Sissy being called, and I'm assuming, and they're not being rude. So let me leave Dad's love, and again, as you're going out and about, know that you're having those conversations. It's a two-way. Okay. So let me leave that with you and say God bless. So you understand the name of Sissy? Okay. Bear with me just 1 minute. It's not. I don't think it's Sissy that I've got, but let's just have a look why it's being called.
Well, she lived in Ilford, which she mentioned.
Ah, okay, there's lovely. That's fine then. I was thinking, I wonder if we're ever going to get to the bottom of Ilford, so it's with Sissy, that's fine.
Yeah, we were all born in Ilford.
Oh, were you? Oh, all right, then that's lovely. Oh, well, welcome to Dorset. I don't know Ilford, so I don't know whether it's a step up or a step down. Couldn't tell you. But I have this, okay, that's really interesting. I've got a couple here, and I'm assuming I've got like mum and dad, but I've got this lovely sense of humour between the pair of them, that as we laugh and joke there's memories of just sitting and laughing. You know, when families would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning, where we haven't really even had anything to drink, we're just reminiscing and we're laughing and we're joking, and it feels that there is a real sense of missing those family connections. Would you understand that? Because it feels like people don't want to get together to reminisce as much. We'll have a little chat, but there's not that just sitting for hours and talking. And And I've got this feeling like I want to recapture those moments. Like I want to invite everybody round to your house, but everyone's phones are going to be put away. They're going to be in a cage. We'll lock them away. We're not going to have TV on or anything else on. We're just going to sit and enjoy, and we're just going to have this moment. And I feel here that this is something that we want. It's that reconnection with family and that reconnection with people that we know. Can I ask you, would you have known people that sang in a choir as well? Because I've got this sense, if it's not they sang in a choir, where did mum and dad must have lived, there must have been a church nearby where they had a choir regularly.
Well, probably, yes.
Because I feel as if I go in and at Christmas time, I would go to a carol, like a prop.
Yeah.
Nearly said that in the wrong way. A proper carol concert, because I just love. That's what I want to go and do. I want to go and hear people sing, and I want to be of, and I want to. It sounds it's all like the traditional Christmas really, and but I know here if this is right with Mum, that Mum had a lot of problems prior to her passing with what she could eat, what she couldn't eat, and what was going on with her stomach.
Not sure about that.
Because I've got the sense that I'm taking things and I'm not able to eat as much. I feel bloated, I feel uncomfortable. So I'm not enjoying my food, which is something I always enjoyed.
I'm not really sure.
Right, hang on a second then. Let's just... There's this sense that if I eat something, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I know this is something connected with her passing. If this isn't your mother, is this your grandmother that had this condition?
Well, I don't know. My grandmother lived to 101. So
Well, she did better than most of us. Okay. Hang on a second. I've got no. Bear with me.
So I've got two grandmothers, obviously.
Okay, bear with me. No. This should be something that's known or understood. Let me just find out what's going on, because I'm being made aware. Let me just check that we're not moving to other bits of the family. I've got a lady here, and I know that this lady, although she's eating less and less, she's becoming more rounded, because I know there are problems here with her stomach before she passes, and she's ended up having a tumour or something within the stomach. Okay? You'll see. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, are you together one back and forth? Oh, right, okay, sorry. I just heard you say that without moving your lips. I thought, that's amazing. How did you do that? I'm hearing things. But I know with this lady, again, I loved my food. I loved eating. I loved the social side of eating. And then it's getting less and less and less. And I feel I know this sounds very silly to say it, but she used to feel very sad because other people would notice she wasn't eating right. And then they wouldn't want to eat, but she'd love to see them enjoy their food, because that's what she used to love. That's what she used to enjoy. So I know there is this sense of don't worry about me. You carry on. You eat. You do. And this sense of her wanting you to enjoy. Okay. But I know with her that this is the contributory thing. This is what's taken her into the spirit world. I also know that before her passing as well, she was finding it very difficult to talk properly, and I feel very dry here, and as if when I'm trying to talk to you, I'm not comfortable talking. Okay, but I know with her that she could talk a lot when she was with people. She'd love to talk. She'd love to bend your ear, and I know that sort of sense of just wanting to bend your ear and talk. It's literally as if all I want to do is chat. Again, mum and dad, my other lady, just chat. I also see a card table being put out here as well, so there must have been a love of playing cards as well when we got together. I don't know whether we were betting pennies or things on it, but I know there is just this love of we could again play and play and play until literally it was like, I've really got to go to bed, I can't do any more. But again, it's those lovely memories of being together and the fun that we had. And is it a member of the family that would have done tailoring at one point as well? Because I'm seeing the lining of a suit.
well, my grandmother
Okay, seamstress. That's fine. Because I had the feeling of wanting to talk about your grandmother as well earlier, and then we weren't sure whether it was her. But I just get this feeling of looking at everything and inspect. And even when she was in a store or something, she would have gone up and should have looked at things and given it the, you know, the sort of, well, that's not going to last, is it? And giving it a good sort of test and going, that's not going to last. But I know there is she lasted longer, didn't she? She lasted a very long time. But there is just that sense of all the family coming in together. I don't know whether there's an anniversary or birthday that's just about to come, but again, I know Christmas is coming, but there's something else, and it feels like all the family are together again. Okay, so I just want you to know that the spirit world are around for that gathering. Okay. Oh, it's a funeral, is it? Oh, I'm so sorry, but they're aware of all the family coming together, and I want to sit and talk and chat, okay, and reminisce. Who's Jackie?
Oh, our sister.
That's your sister, okay. And is that the lady who's just passed?
No,
Mm. Okay,
4 years ago.
right, okay. Because I was saying, oh, just as we're pulling, I just heard Jackie being called. So, but that's the sister we were talking about. Yes, okay. So that's fine because it's just that sense of. And I get the lovely sense that she's got everything in control over there now. And literally, I'm taking care of everyone up here. You can take care of everyone down there. Everything will be fine. I'm calm in a crisis and a panic. I like her. And a lot of people liked her. She was very loved. And she, you know, she'd turn and do something for anyone. Yeah, she's blushing. She said, I don't like people to say how wonderful I am, but I was. I like her. But I just know as this connection comes in, I've got everything sorted from here, don't worry. And we'll sit, we'll reminisce. Dad, okay. And that's a funny thing to show because it could be very common. You know when men used to wear armbands, metal armbands to keep them out, and they were done often primarily because of their work, to keep the cuffs from getting dirty. Did Dad have a pair of those?
Probably,
Yes. Because I just feel as if I'm rolling my sleeves up to get on with what, and I'm just keeping everything out the way, and I get this sense of what's gone on here. We've had to literally roll up our sleeves and get involved and get stuff sorted. And it's felt like a task and a half, but we've all done it together, okay? And there is this sense of wanting to talk about the unity of the family together being important, all right? So let me leave their love and their thoughts with you. Would you also understand the surname of Scott?
I don't.
No. Okay, don't worry. Because it's just being called. Okay, bear in mind it's being said. I kind of see it on a sign, so I don't know whether it's a sign of a business or it's a sign of some. Can you just remember it's being said? If you suddenly spot Scott, then remember that Jackie's pointing it out to you. All right. So let me leave with her love. She's got it all sorted. Don't you worry. All right. So, am I there? Am I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of both myself and those in the spirit world, thank you for your love, your attention, your energy that make those connections possible. And I'll say good afternoon and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mark. Few notices. Tomorrow, just a reminder, anybody who has a session booked with Brian Walker, just to remind you that is tomorrow, which is now fully booked. Brian's got one more day with us before Christmas, and that is on the 2nd of December. So if you'd like to make a booking with Brian for that day, let me know after the service. This Sunday at 11 o'clock, we have Rosemary Spencer with us, taking a divine style service. Next Wednesday, 3 o'clock, we have Roy McKay with us, taking the service. And Friday the 26th in the morning, we have our bereavement group here at Paul Church. So if you would like to attend that, you don't need to pre-book or anything. You just turn up. Doors are open from 10 11:45 to 11:15. Purely in-house group. Anybody going or having maybe a little struggle with any aspect of bereavement, you are more than welcome. So that's on Friday the 26th. Our online activities on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and Monday night at 7 p.m. Never mind, the teeth are all wrong today. We have a 5-minute meditation. This Friday at 7:30 we have our evening with the Spiritist Association, and on Saturday at 7 p.m. we have a talk with Angela Foster, who's a DSNU holder. So that's all the notices for the week. Just a little reminder, as you notice, we're not handing out hymn books at the moment. We are still working to try and reduce transmission risks wherever possible. Thank you, everybody. You've been absolutely marvellous and a joy to work with. I have not had one awkward person. Now I've done that, guess what's going to happen?
Law of attraction.
But there you go. You've been all beautiful. Thank you. You've got the space seating at the back. You've got the more closer together seating at the front, and it's just a joy to look after you all. Just working on that. We don't hand the collection plate around also in that energy of a transmission risk, but I would remind you that it is there. And the collection plates keep these lights on, the heating on, and the church open. So I'll leave that there. I will hand over to the lovely Mark.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just as we finish our service, let's close our eyes but open our hearts in prayer. Gracious and divine Spirit, we thank you for this time that we have shared together, for the beautiful healing power that we have all created as we have sat here, for those that have joined us from the spirit world, not only to bring their healing, but also to bring the communication that proves that life is eternal, that our loved ones are only truly a thought away, and that each and every one of us here is not alone in life, that our loved ones, our friends, our family, even our pets, still remain with us and come to visit us and join us in this life, that we are not separate, that we are just in different energies or vibrations, or just, if you like, in another room. So as always, we thank you for this time that we have shared together. We thank you for the love, the healing, the peace and the stillness. And we ask that that love and that peace and stillness goes with us in the days and weeks to come. Let us also be a channel for that love and healing to all those that we meet, remembering that we are all sharing this journey together. Different pathways, different thoughts, different beliefs, but all one spirit. Amen.
Amen. Mark, on behalf of everybody here in Paul Church, amazing service.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You all had a message today in the address. Don't go out of here thinking, I never heard from this, I never heard from that. You had a message from Spirit, and this is what we need to take forward, because this is what Spirit want to do with us. They want to support us in everyday life. All right, so those of you fortunate to have direct communication, beautiful. Everybody else here and everybody else online, there's one little bits of those address that you could take with you. That's your message from Spirit, and we need to start really understanding this. So thank you all. It's me off my soapbox. You are all free to go now. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you, thank you.
Bless you. I need to check with you as well. I've got a Saturday booked here before the end of the year, but I think it was pre-COVID booked then.
Oh, right.